So what did our ancestors talk about or congregate within those pyramids in Egypt? What did they talk about and congregate in those lost temples under the pyramid that connect to other planets? Well, I'm allowed the ancestors to speak through me, and I'll tell you what they talked about. See, the science of this earth is not really science. This is elementary stuff. Even the stuff that we call master science, it ain't really nothing compared to the stuff that they spoke about in those temples. Now, as I allow my ancestors to speak through me, and I allow their spirit to come from my voice, from my lungs into my voice and into your ears, humble yourself and listen to what I'm saying to you. We come back through the children that we give birth through. We come back through the children that we give birth to. What do I mean by that? This is beyond reincarnation. This is beyond resurrection. And this is why we should be careful how we raise our children, because we pick our parents when we pick our children. You have daughters coming out of you, that daughter could be your mother one day. You have sons coming out of you, those sons can be your fathers one day. So if you are placing your daughters and your sons in positions where they're not peaceful, they are not royal, they don't have intelligence to feed the soul, then you are raising children that will one day be your parents who cannot teach you anything when they give birth to you again. When you see a daughter coming out the mother's womb and she look just like her mother and a little bit like the father, 9 times out of 10, when the mother dies, she coming back through that daughter. Image is spiritual. Even though it's something that you see, but you feel it. You can feel the mother and her daughter. And seeing ain't always about what you see with the eyes. It's about how you feel. Seeing, the highest form of seeing is feeling. When you see a son and he looking just like his father, 9 times out of 10, if the father don't raise that child right, then he will come back through that son who he didn't give guidance to. And now that son won't be able to give guidance to the father who had him in a past life that he didn't get guidance to. Our children are our investments. And every other culture knows that. This is why the Chinese people, they raise their children out of legacy. They push them into higher forms of sciences, technology, because they understand that he who rules science rules the world. Nature is science. Without nature, scientists cannot allocate business in their laboratories. Invest in your children so that when you come back through them, they can invest in you. These people know the higher sciences in which I'm speaking to you. These folks go into their temples and their catacombs, and they speak on frequencies that I'm speaking to you right now when they are congregating about science. We could talk about physics. We could talk about energy. We could talk about thermodynamics. We could talk about microbiology and all this stuff, polymerization. We could talk about phytochemicals and herbs and healing. But there are other sciences that are hidden that our ancestors used to speak about during certain seasons, during certain times when stars would go into retrogrades or planets would go into retrogrades and binary suns would be given birth to from within the earth. The soil will give out things for them to breathe in, and it will open up their eyes. So what I'm trying to tell y'all is this right here. DNA is deeper than what you think. If you go back 50,000 years ago, I was talking to my son this morning about chromosomes, right? And how when we were communicating using language in the form of imaging, before the English language, before any other language, we use imaging. This is why when you go into Egypt and you look on the tombs and you're looking at the hieroglyphs and the petroglyphs, right? These were the way that they communicated back then because it was more healthier for the brain. It didn't suppress the neurons in the brain. But when they started to give us a perception of words so that we can communicate through language, right? That dropped the frequency of the brain and it turned off certain circuits in the brain so that we couldn't see things before it happened. Our body could not pull in things that was beneficial to us. But when certain parts of our brain was open due to us communicating through silence and images. These were the higher forms of communication. Because images carry sounds and tones. Our chromosomes did not have telomeres on it 50,000 years ago. And your chromosomes has a lot to do with your aging process. So this is why they lived a lot longer. They were much taller by then. These are what we call the giants. And we can also go into the metaphysical aspect of it. Giants, sometimes when they're speaking about giants too, you can't look at it, it's allegorical. Giant mean that they had giant minds, giant ways of thinking, intellect. Their intellect was what they were masters of their crafts. This is what made them giants, because they had a huge way of thinking. They had mastery, and the mastery was the science was giant. It was gigantic. So we got to be careful how we treat our children. Make your investment in your children, and stop making investments in adults who have their own life. Your children running around here being traumatized, not only by the foods that they're eating, but by the environment itself. And then you wonder why, when you die and you reincarnate and come back, that you come out of a traumatized womb because you didn't give that child anything to bring you back through. If you traumatize your children, you're coming back through traumatized parents. And these parents is your children. Whether you want to believe me or not, these are the hidden sciences that the Pope know. They know what I'm talking about. Some of the so-called Jews know what I'm talking about. Some of these so-called Freemasons know what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about them 33-degree Freemasons because they don't know what they're talking about. I'm talking about them ones that actually go into Saudi Arabia, right? Or they go to Israel and they go underground to certain energy centers where it's easier for them to leave their body temporarily. When they drinking blood from people that's donating blood in hospitals, and they send it. So when they drinking blood from specific people who have an alkaloid in their blood, that alkaloid that when the sun hit it, it make conversions by way of photosynthesis from ethereal light to energy. This is the type of blood that they need in order to leave their body in these catacombs and certain parts of the earth. They know what I'm talking about. And now I disconnect. I love y'all. Peace.